What this video reveals first is not Mark Rober or Dude Perfect. It reveals the audience contract. You are being invited to watch engineering stripped of most of its messiest truths and rebuilt as a clean tribal contest. Smart guys, loud friends, a boxy arena, and a promise that technical skill can be made as emotionally legible as a dunk contest. That's the pitch. And to the video's credit, it understands that most viewers do not actually care about robot combat as a discipline. They care about whether competence can be made cinematic. So the central claim here isn't just who wins the robot battle. The deeper claim is that this crossover can function as a fair proving ground between two creator empires with different brands of masculinity. Rober's explanatory engineer persona versus Dude Perfect's chaos sports persona. My problem is that the video only half proves that. It proves who performs best inside this event package. It does not really prove who solved the more interesting engineering problem, because the competition keeps sliding between design challenge, entertainment product, and hired expert showcase. And that's where the video gets more interesting than it probably intends to. Mark explicitly thanks Seems Reasonable Robotics for providing the talent behind physically imposing tail. That disclosure matters. It doesn't invalidate the project, but it changes the meaning of the competition. We are no longer watching a pure creator versus creator engineering duel. We're watching a collaboration economy in which charisma, money, access, fabrication skill, and specialist labor all get bundled together and sold as one personality-driven event. That's not dishonest. It is, however, a very different thing from the garage inventor fantasy the video wants to preserve. Now, the strongest thing the video does is practical translation. When these videos work, it's because they turn opaque hardware into readable stakes. The arena framing, the repeated close views of the bots, the driver booths, the reaction shots, those aren't just flashy coverage. They help a casual viewer understand that robot combat is not random destruction. It's geometry, stability, weapon reach, battery discipline, control latency, and driver composure under pressure. The video is good at converting a pile of brushed motors and metal panels into a conflict with discernible cause and effect. But then the evidence starts doing less work than the narration wants it to. The competition format gives you outcomes. It's landed, flips, breakages, crowd reactions, but outcomes are not the same thing as explanations. A robot can dominate because it's brilliantly designed. It can also dominate because the matchup is favorable. The rules reward one failure mode over another. The weapon geometry happens to be better for this floor and this arena, or because one team had access to a more battle-tested architecture from the start. The video doesn't really slow down long enough to separate those possibilities. It wants the verdict before it wants the analysis. You can see the sleight of hand in how the robots are introduced as characters before they're treated as systems. Look at the big wedgie body language, the aggressive front profile, the dramatic stare-downs in the arena. The machines are given attitude because attitude is easier to market than trade-offs. A good documentary about robot combat would spend more time on failure budgets. Why this drivetrain? Why this armor thickness? What was sacrificed for weapon power? What broke in testing? What contingency plan existed when a motor controller died? This video gives us enough of that to feel informed, but not enough to seriously audit the claims. And this is the weak point. The video sells uncertainty as fairness while carefully curating what uncertainty counts. We get suspense over who will win. We do not get much scrutiny over whether the test itself is representative. Were these bots optimized for spectacle or durability? How much iteration happened off camera? How much of the final performance reflects the creator's decision-making versus the specialist builder's prior knowledge of what survives in a combat arena? Those questions aren't side notes. They're the whole intellectual substance of the contest. There's also a morally odd layer here that the video barely notices because this genre barely notices it anymore. The transcript opens with a collabs ad and sweepstakes language before we even get to the battle. That matters less as a corruption story and more as a tone story. The event is framed as educational play, consumer participation, and gladiator spectacle all at once. Buy the box, enter the promotion, watch the destruction, learn something about engineering. It's a neat business model because it turns STEM into lifestyle branding. The cost is that every claim of curiosity arrives attached to a sales funnel. Still, I don't want to flatten what the video gets right. Compared with a lot of creator mega collabs, this one at least places the machines at the center often enough that the event has an argument, not just a thumbnail. The combat footage is not pure wallpaper. You can infer strategic differences. You can feel when a robot's shape is helping or hurting it. And the crowd and booth shots, cheesy as they are, do communicate a real truth about this kind of competition. The driver's emotional bandwidth is part of the machine. Control under stress is part of the engineering stack, whether YouTube wants to say it that way or not. What I keep coming back to is that this video is a very polished symptom of a broader cultural move. Expertise no longer has to be explained in full as long as it can be staged convincingly. If the arena is dramatic enough and the teams are branded clearly enough, viewers will accept performance as proof. That's the bargain. The audience gets access to engineering without the boredom, and the creators get to borrow the authority of engineering without always doing the burden of engineering argument in public. Sometimes that trade is harmless. Sometimes it quietly trains people to confuse a compelling test with a complete one. So my verdict is, as a piece of entertainment, this is smartly built and often genuinely impressive. As a substantive engineering competition, it's only partly persuasive. The strongest part of the video is its ability to make hardware legible to civilians. The biggest vulnerability is that it asks us to treat a branded crossover event as if it cleanly answers a technical question. It doesn't. It answers a Messier question instead. Who can assemble the best blend of design, specialist help, performance under pressure, and showmanship inside a creator economy built to hide the seams? And honestly, that Messier question is the one I care about more. Because the future of online education is probably not lecture versus prank. It's this hybrid, explanation welded to spectacle until you can't tell where the learning ends and the franchise begins. If that's a fight worth having, stick around. There are a lot more shiny videos that deserve to be argued with this carefully.